Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. It's been a while, and I want to apologize for that. I've been super busy with school and stuff, and with it being the CDL off season, I kind of just needed a little bit of a break to recharge. But I do feel super rejuvenated and ready to go for the season. I'm just so excited to keep making CDL content, especially as the season gets rolling around. It gets more and more fun as we get deeper and deeper into the season and can talk about more of the teams and the results and predictions and stuff and roster rumors and all that kind of stuff as they're actually shuffling and all the rosters are official. And I hope you guys will continue to support like you did with that 100 Thieves video. That was nuts support. It was almost like 2K views, crazy amounts of comments, and that was just a nuts thing to wake up to the next morning after that was uploaded. But in this one, it might run a little long, maybe not as long as like the normal like 40-minute, 30-minute podcast episodes, but it might run a little bit longer than like a typical like little 10-minute update because there is a little bit to talk about, but no promises on the length at all. You know, I can sometimes ramble. But in this one, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on Cold War and then touch on like a few of the rumored rosters that have come out over the last little bit here over the last few weeks since the game came out. Those being the LA Thieves roster and then the Paris possible roster, the mess that is the Paris Legion. But first, my thoughts on Cold War. First of all, it's like a 100 times improvement on Modern Warfare. There's no doubt about that. The time to kill is much longer. Which is way better. The time to kill in Modern Warfare was so fast that there wasn't even really gunfights. And then the guns are much more fun to use, I think, because they're all so much more unique and usable in their own way. Like when you go back to Modern Warfare, you've got like the MP5 and the M4 in pubs, and then besides that, you really, if you wanted to actually do well and like have fun playing, maybe besides like a sniper if you like sniping, but like you couldn't really use any of the other ARs besides the M4 and any of the subs besides the MP5 because they were just so good that they were so much better than everything else. So if you wanted to do well in pubs, you literally had to use the meta guns. But like a signature, just like in every other Treyarch and Black Ops game, you can pretty much, I mean, obviously like especially early in the game, the MP5 was the best and the FAMAS was the best, and like the Krig is really good and the AK is really good. But like if you pull out the Milano and put a bunch of attachments on it, or the 74U and put a bunch of attachments, or really any AR or anything, or any sub, even the TAC rifles, the AUG and M16 are broken. They're so good. But if you pull out like any of those guns and get the right attachments on it, they can all compete and you can do pretty good. Unlike you see in like the Modern Warfare guns, you could literally only use two. So yeah, they're all unique and usable in their own way. Then the zombies is actually extremely fun. I've been playing that here and there with my friends, and the campaign I've heard is extremely good, but I haven't touched it. I don't know if I'll ever touch the campaign. I usually don't in COD games. I usually only play like story type games if that's what the game is specifically for. I don't usually play like the story modes that happen to be in multiplayer games. But I've heard the campaign is super good, and I know the whole Black Ops storyline is really good. So I'm sure that's extremely, extremely fun to play, and I might end up touching it later in the year if I'm getting kind of burned out on playing so much rank play or something. But to get deeper into my thoughts in the game, before we get to some of like the positives, I'd like to start with some of my gripes with the game, so that way we can end on a good note with all the great things that there are in this game. First, a couple of the things that I think need to be changed or just kind of really suck and are unfortunate. First thing is only having 8 maps at launch really sucks, especially since Miami and Satellite are pretty much unplayable in my opinion. I think they both are just horrible maps. Armada isn't great either, but I really like it because I've been working on the diamond subs, and it's super easy to get point blank kills playing on Armada. But Miami and Satellite are essentially unplayable to me, so that really limits it down to like 6 maps that are actually like decent, and then Cartel with the bushes is like, I don't know, it's just a mess. But I would say with maps like Crossroads, Garrison, Checkmate, Moscow, and like kind of Cartel, like I said, we already have maps that are way better than the garbage, like 20 lane, 500 sightline MW maps. So that's certainly a positive. It sucks to only have 8, but at least we have some good ones. But yeah. And then the next thing is this lack of maps really hurts competitive. Because one of the worst things when viewing like a competitive match is it's always a best of 5, and then they pull up like, here's like the outline for this series, and it's like last year it'd be like 4 gun runners or something, and it's like when you have this few maps in the rotation because there's only 8 in the game, either you're forced to play maps that aren't that good because there's not that many to choose from, which also sucks, or you have people vetoing every map but one, which I could see happening with like Crossroads this year, or like Garrison. They're vetoing everything, and you're playing Garrison 4 out of the 5 maps, or Crossroads 4 out of the 5 maps, and it's just like it's just annoying to watch because it's like to watch the same map, or like when you get to the end of the series and games 3, 4, and 5 were all Gunrunner or something, it was just like, come on, really? Do we have to watch Gunrunner Dom and then Gunrunner Hardpoint and then Gunrunner Search to end the series? Like, you just get bored of seeing the same map. So having this few maps really sucks in some ways for competitive, because either we're playing bad maps because we need to have more than 2 maps per game mode, or we're playing the same map over and over and over again to watch it, and it's not as fun to watch. And also, I think that the weapons level up way too slow, because getting them to max level legitimately takes like 12 hours or more of game time, which is insane, because that means roughly you could finish maybe like 2 guns per 1 day of game time. Finish meaning like getting them gold. That's just ridiculous. If I'm grinding for dark matter right now. I'm sure a lot of you are as well. Like, to have to play for over 12 hours with each gun to level it up is ridiculous. Now that there's double weapon XP though in Nuketown, I'm sure we're all grinding for that. Although Nuketown just, I don't know, I feel like it's not as good this year. I feel like they like made the sightlines, like you can see areas that you could never see from certain sightlines, and people are just camping so hard as like a side effect of Modern Warfare and the way it made people play. So I don't know, I feel like Nuketown just doesn't play as fast and good in this game, but maybe that's just me. But leveling up the guns takes way too long. The dark matter grind is ridiculous this year with how long it takes. And then maybe my biggest complaint of all for the game is the score streaks. They're literally a participation trophy, product of the world today, I guess, maybe, but they're literally a participation trophy. By the time the game is over, almost every single person has an attack chopper, a cruise missile, a napalm strike, a chopper gunner, a VTOL escort, or whatever they call it, and you literally can't go on a streak at all towards the end because you're constantly being killed by them. It's like, oh, I'm on a 2 streak, oh, cruise missile dead, oh, okay, spawn up, 3 streak, and attack chopper kills me, oh, spawn up again, napalm strike dropped in, and everybody on their team has like all 3 of these. So it's just like, it's just really annoying because it's so frustrating, like, to not be able to go on a streak because everybody else on the team has streaks. And like, to me, that was one of the most fun parts about COD, was grinding and like, oh my god, I got a chopper gunner based on getting like so much score, or like I got a gunship based on so much score. And now like, if I see like gunship pop up on my screen because I got it, it's not even like that exciting, because it's like, well, I mean, there's support streaks, I get them like even if I die, my streak progress stays. So it's like, it's not nearly as rewarding to grind for like I heard like a K9 unit might be coming out, but that's just going to be broken too, because there's going to be dogs running all over the map, and you might get them every game because you don't even need like to do that well to get an attack chopper. You have to go like 30 and 30 or something, and like just get on some streaks to get bonus score. It's not even hard at all. It's just so frustrating. This is also really scary and scaring me for competitive, because I think one of the great intricacies of competitive COD is like being able to balance playing your streaks and still playing correctly. So like when you're playing, obviously right when you spawn up, you're not like in a typical game like Black Ops 4, right when you spawn up, you're not thinking about your streaks you're playing. But then let's say you get like a big 4-piece in the hill and get like the capture time and get a bunch of objective kills and you get a bunch of score. And then you're like 200 off your streaks. Now there's like a balance you play. You're going to be like, you tell your teammates like, hey, I'm 200 off streaks, I'm going to play for them. And then you might like play an off angle and kind of like play for kills more a little bit, and then get those 2 kills to get your lightning strike, which then might earn you your hellstorm. And then you're just going to like play for that. Or in like search and destroy, if you're 200 off an RC car, like when RC cars are in the game, you might play for that. Because then the RC can get you information and maybe even pick up a kill if you catch somebody without flak, which doesn't really happen in the pro scene, but it might happen in rank play. And you can play for your streaks. But then there's also people that'll be 200 off their streaks and they'll play way too hard for their streaks and completely stop playing. They'll screw up the spawns for their team, and then that'll completely mess up the game and they'll lose because the person played too much for their streaks. So it's one of those little intricacies of competitive COD that separates the greats from the good players. The balance of playing your streaks while still not screwing up the game for your team and messing with the spawns and stuff. And if these kind of streaks are in the game, they're first of all definitely going to be GA'd, because I mean, the pros aren't going to want to play with streaks that don't reset upon death. But then on top of that, it doesn't look like they're going to be banned from the rule set in like regular competitive rank play. So we're all going to be playing with these participation streaks, and they're going to ruin the game, because every single game, all 4 people on the other team are going to get at least 1 cruise missile and 1 napalm strike, and then we're just going to have to like, it's not even going to be like a reward. Usually if you can like get a hellstorm and a lightning strike, it's super helpful for your team. It's like a super big advantage to have on the next open hill. If you need to break it, you can drop it in like the spawn in the back of the map and like get them out of spawns, take the spawns over yourself, flip them, and then grab the hill. But now, if every single person has streaks, it's just going to be a constant spam of cruise missiles back and forth, and they're not even going to really have any value anymore, which really sucks. So I think they really, really need to put in a setting. It's scaring me that they haven't yet within the CDL rule set, but they need to put in some setting where they adjust the amount of score it takes to get score streaks. So like, obviously it can't take 2,500 points to get a score streak in competitive, because a 25 gun streak isn't going to happen, but adjust it down to like the normal 700, 800 points, and then make them reset upon death just for competitive, because I know they're not going to change it in pubs, because that's the way they designed this game. It's a huge aspect of the game, and I respect that as an idea they went for. I personally don't think it worked, but some of you might think it works for pubs, but for competitive it absolutely doesn't work. They need to change it. All right, so now that we got over that rant on some of the bad things that are in the game, I'm going to go over some of the positives, which, based on some of the ranting, you might think I don't think there's a lot of positives, but I really think there's a lot of positives of this game, and I think it has a ton of potential. First of all, Vonderhaar basically confirmed. There's a ranked playlist coming with that interaction with Scump that was really awkward. And I kind of saw this coming because Treyarch is the best and always has some kind of ranked play. Since BO2, they've had one in all the Black Ops games, BO2, BO3, and BO4. But to have it basically confirmed as coming is awesome. It's by far my favorite thing to play on COD, as you know, so I'm hyped to jump into it, and I hope it comes out somewhat soon. I understand that it normally doesn't come out off launch because they don't even have the rule set, so it wouldn't even be like a real rank playlist. But I'm hoping in like December, maybe with Season 1, we see it roll out. I doubt it. I feel like it'll be more around January when the CDL season starts. But I would love, I mean, my dream would for it to be out around Christmas or before or something, but that's kind of a pipe dream, I think. And then maybe the most positive thing of all of them, spawns are finally normal. This might be the biggest positive of everything there is, because there's no more stupid squad spawns and illogical ones. We can actually push out the back. So like, for example, on Garrison, there's on Crossroads, there's the one spawn, there's the one hill that's in the back next to that like big rock with that hop up, and you can actually push out the back, and hold it and anchor and sit on that heady and look to the left side and have one person look towards the front doors, and you can actually make the other team spawn out. This makes it so much easier for players because you can push out the back, hold the back, and spawn players out and know where they're spawning, instead of, oh, you push out the back but you sat too deep in the left corner, they're going to spawn right next to you in the right corner, which makes no sense. The stupid squad spawns from last year. And I also think it makes the game better, it plays better, it's easier to understand, it's easier to punish teams and like be a good hardpoint team instead of just a random like mashing and spawning on top of each other and just whoever can win the most gunfights wins, which isn't really competitive COD, because obviously you have to win gunfights and have good gun skill to win, but Modern Warfare and hardpoint especially really took out the brains of the game and knowing how to spawn people out and where to push, how to hold spawns and stuff like that, how to get spawns, how to rotate. Modern Warfare pretty much just eliminated that with the squad spawns. And I also think it makes it easier for viewers to understand, because I mean, I've been playing competitive COD for like 10 years, so I just understand it just as a byproduct of playing it for so long. But to me, it seems like for the casual viewer, it would make sense that like if I'm holding like the behind a hill, like the area behind a hill, and all my team is back there, my team would continue to spawn there, and then the other team would spawn far away because you don't want to be shooting. Like if you're a casual player, it would make sense you don't spawn right next to the other team because then you're just going to keep getting spawn killed. You would spawn out. So then if the other team pushes into the back and kills you out of there, then it would make sense that they would spawn there because they've now killed you out of there, and then they want to spawn closer to the hill. It's just like basic logic. It makes more sense than I'm sitting in the back, the other guy spawned, and we're staring at each other as we both spawn. Like that doesn't make any sense because, I mean, spawn killing isn't supposed to be a part of the game unless you absolutely manipulate it to an extremely high level, like in Control. And then I'm also excited to see December 10th. Apparently, I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but that's like the day of like the Season 1 that's supposed to drop, and we're supposed to get 3 new maps apparently in that season, plus maybe some throwbacks. I don't know if they're all going to drop exactly on December 10th, if they're going to be throughout the season, but apparently we might be getting 3 new maps on December 10th, and I could see these maybe working their way into the rotation of competitive, since if they do come out December 10th, that's like a little bit over like a month, maybe like a month and a half before the CDL season starts. So maybe if these are good maps, they could work their way into the competitive rotation. I'm just praying they do because we need more than like the 5 or 6 maps we're playing. Then lastly, I just feel like the core of this game is so good and has so much potential. And on top of this, the devs have actually listened to more feedback and voiced more love for competitive and competitive COD in like a week of the game being out than the Modern Warfare devs did in an entire year and the year leading up to their game. So I feel like we won't actually be forgotten in competitive like we were last year when the devs literally didn't care at all. They said competitive COD ruined COD, it's horrible, they want to play for the casuals. And the Infinity Ward devs literally just hated competitive, hated all of us, and didn't give us any updates, didn't just care about the game at all. Even coming to champs, they just didn't care. So I hope that the devs are actually going to be true to their word about listening to more. It seems like they really are, so I'm super thankful for that. Hope they're going to continue to listen to all the feedback, and then continue to act on it. But I hope they don't 100% listen to the feedback, because the pros are mostly right, but sometimes the pros can want too much stuff banned and too much stuff changed, and they water down the game to a super boring, like bare bones World War II type game. So I hope they listen to things like change the score streaks to the standard way, Maybe nerf this, maybe buff this, but I hope they don't make it as bare bones. I hope they keep some of the flashy kind of stuff in the game, because sometimes flashy stuff like Specialists in BO3 and BO4 can make the game more fun to watch as a viewer. It can suck as a player, I know, to add some RNG through like Specialists, but sometimes like random stuff like that is kind of fun to watch as a player. All right, all the Cold War talk is done. I'd love for you guys to drop what you think about Cold War in the comments. If you're going to comment something about Cold War, I guess I can't force you to do anything, but I hope list at least one positive thing about it and then one negative thing. Just don't list one negative thing and say the game sucks or something. At least say something like, this is what I don't like about the game and this is what I like about the game. So that way we can kind of get a good conversation going and not just either destroying the game or only praising it, because it certainly has positives and it certainly has negatives. It doesn't deserve 100% praise and it doesn't deserve 100% bash. I think it's a game with a lot of potential that has some downfalls and it has some great things, especially compared to the last game we had. All right. But now time to touch on those two rumors. We got the LA Thieves roster and then the Paris roster rumors. First, we'll go with the LA Thieves because it's more confirmed than the other one. Obviously, we have Slasher, Kenny, and Tej confirmed on this team. And apparently Temp is the fourth, which would make their team Slasher, Temp, Kenny, and Tej, which is a nasty team. So Nade Shot, and Temp, they must have squashed their beef that they had a few years ago. And I believe this team can be very good. My only question really comes with Temp and kind of some of the attitude issues he's had in the past. And Temp and Slasher teamed again after having teamed in AW. They teamed in World War II. And their team just kind of blew up because it didn't work at all. But I think this team could be good. But I'm also really intrigued. There was some kind of rumors. I don't know if they really had much legs to them. But apparently, like, people were thinking maybe Karma could unretire and maybe get on this roster. And I actually think he's a better fit for the team than Temp. He looks nasty at this game like he always does early in games. I think getting a little more smarts and veteran leadership on this team to go along with Slasher would be perfect. Although I've heard, I don't know much about him, but I've heard Kenny's like a super smart player and can kind of IGL a little bit. Obviously, Slasher's going to be the game leader on this team, but I've heard Kenny is a pretty good support at that. I don't think Tej does much of that. I think Tej is a smart player, but I don't think he does much talking, and I don't really think Temp does either, but maybe Kenny can be that second guy to back up Slasher. But I actually do think Karma's a better fit. I think, like I said, Temp maybe adds more Slain than Karma, but if this team already has Slasher, Kenny, and Tej, they have plenty of Slain. It's not like Karma is some like garbage player that's going to drop a 0.7. Like, Karma can also slay with the best of them. If he's on a game, I mean, at times like in BO2 and Ghost, he might have been the best slayer in the world and the best player in the world. He can still hang with them and at least have a 1 and really slay with the best of them, especially if he's like the fourth guy in your team in Slain. If Karma is the fourth guy in your team that's expected to slay, the only guy, like the dead last guy that you don't really expect to slay, your team's in a pretty good position for slaying. But I think if you had Slasher on the main and Karma on the flex, and then Tej and Kenny on the subs, I think I'd have them as the best team in the game in preseason power rankings, and I know that is a hot take. But the team with Temp, I think it's going to be a very good team. I think they easily are a top 4 team. But like I said, get Karma on that team, and I think they might be the best team in the game. But I have a feeling Karma's going to Chicago Optic in some way, somehow. Next is the rumored Paris roster. First of all, what the hell's going on with them? They haven't tweeted since like October. If you listen to the Best of 3 podcast, this is like a segment every single week on their show. They haven't tweeted since October. Who even knows if they want to be in the league anymore? There was a rumor they tried to sell their spot. But who knows what the heck's going on with them? Who even knows if they're going to sign a roster, if they're just going to go dark and just not feel a team? Who knows? But apparently their rumored roster from CDL Intel recently, I think it was yesterday he said it, apparently it is Aqua, Gunjar, Scraps, and Fire. You guys probably know who Aqua is for sure. He's on LAG last year. You obviously know Scraps. You might not know Fire. He played with Parasite a lot last year in Challengers. And then Gunjar, if you've been around the competitive scene for a while, you might know he was on TK forever. He had a lot of second place finishes. I don't think he's really ever won like a true event or anything. But a lot of second place finishes, a pretty good main AR, been around forever. But yeah, you might know who he is if you're more of like an OG competitive fan that watched a lot during like BO2 and Ghost. But if you've only started watching recently since like BO4, MW, you probably don't really know much about him. But apparently this roster is super interesting and a lot of drama has gone down. I guess Classic was supposed to be on this team maybe, but got kind of knocked out because of some drama. And then Raiden and Wuskin were talking about how like the Friendship League screwed over either both of them or just Wuskin, and they didn't get the spot. So my kind of theory, no pun intended, behind all this is Theory, like the former pro, is the coach of Paris, I guess. and his best friend like in the scene who he's teamed with for like 7 years is Goonjar. So my thought is that Theory pushed for his best friend Goonjar to be on the roster over Wuskin. Since they're both main ARs, they probably wouldn't be on the roster together, even though Aqua is a main AR, so it really doesn't make any sense unless they're going to make Aqua play the flex. But my thought is Theory pushed for his best friend Goonjar to be on the team over Wuskin, and then Goonjar said, well, I want my Challengers teammate in Fire because I think he's like a super high potential kid over Classic. So my thought is the roster was maybe supposed to be Wuskin, Scraps, Aqua, and Classic. But Theory pushed to get Goonjar in the league since he's his best friend and then over Wuskin, and then Goonjar said, well, I want Fire over Classic. And this sucks to me because I think if Wuskin was on the team instead of Goonjar and then Classic instead of Fire, I'd actually be really hyped to watch this team. It seems like this game's going to, at least at the beginning, have like a 2 AR meta with like an AK and a Krig or 2 AKs or something. So putting Wuskin on the main and then Aqua on the flex where you can mostly play an AR and then Scraps and Classic on the subs isn't bad at all for a second or for like a last second roster that was just like put together right before the season. I think they'd actually be able to compete in like the middle of the pack with some random upset potential. Obviously like the top teams are going to beat them pretty consistently, but like on a good day, if they catch like the Thieves or like Optic, or FaZe on like one of their bad days, if they're having one of their really good days, they can maybe force like a 5-game series or maybe even win it in 5 or something. But with the rumor team of like Goon, Aqua, Scraps, and Fire, I just see them as a team with some kind of upset potential where they won't be completely horrible and get like destroyed every time. I think they'd be better than Paris from last year, but they're relying on Fire being like a young absolute demigod superstar to get past the middle or like the bottom of the pack. So the team isn't as exciting now because like Goon is older and has like I feel like a certain ceiling, and then you've got a role issue because Aqua's also a main AR, and then like Scraps is a really good player, but I feel like Scraps is more suited to be a flex than a sub, and then Fire, who knows, we've never seen him in the pro league. If he turns into an absolute superstar, that's where this team can go from like bottom of the pack to maybe middle or a little higher, is if Fire is an absolute like superstar. We're talking like top 10 player or something, but I don't see that happening just because I feel like he would have gotten a lot more attention from other teams if he had that kind of potential. I've heard he is a really good player, but I feel like he'd be getting a lot more attention if he had that kind of potential. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I'm super hyped to be back after that kind of little short break I took to just rejuvenate myself and get all my schoolwork and stuff done. We're getting into finals coming up here in school, so that's going to be a tough time too. But hope you guys are all enjoying your holidays if you're here in America with Thanksgiving coming up. I want to thank you guys for the continued support so much if you stuck around. It means so much to me. Support in that last video was insane, like I said. But please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And then most importantly, comment your thoughts on Cold War, maybe a positive and negative thing about it. And then the rosters, the LA Thieves, Paris roster, the rumors, comment your thoughts on those, what you think about them. I hope you guys are all as excited for the new season as I am. And I will see you guys in the next one, hopefully next week or soon. Have a great day, everyone.